Christian Horner's firing came as a huge surprise to the entire Formula One world, but it wasn't without a proper background. The tieback side that stood firm behind him through thick and thin pulled the trigger on the Brit and opened the door for the Austrian shareholders to do what they felt should have been done a long time ago. But do the Verstappen family and Marko have their own play in this entire saga? And can Horner prove to them that this was not the right move at all? The shockwaves that Red Bull sent by firing Horner with immediate effect are something that we'll need a bit more time to comprehend. It's one thing to get fired and see the end of the season, but the immediate effect factor gives us a lot of ground to discuss. For example, there must be something utterly wrong done by Christian that the team didn't want him to be team principal for one more race in 2025. And the reason behind this is actually quite simple. There was a shift in the shareholders of Red Bull. As you already know, there are two sides to the story, the Thai and Austrian ones. Prior to this scenario, Calum Uvidhia, the man who owns 2% of the shares of Red Bull, gave his unconditional support to Horner. And since this side held 51% of the shares in Red Bull, it meant that the Austrian side couldn't have done anything without their prior approval. But as of the 20th of May, Calum moved his entire 2% shareholding to a Geneva-based trust company. Now you're definitely asking yourself, how does a man with 2% shares decide the future of Horner? When Red Bull was founded, it was a joint project that saw the now-deceased Dietrich Mateschitz and Calum Uvidhia hold 49% of the company each. The remainder of the 2% went to Calum's eldest son, Chael, and that's why the tieback side always had 51% of the shares. However, now that this privilege has been lost, Chael doesn't own any shares in Red Bull directly, and it was the perfect scenario for the Austrian side to do what they thought would be best. Ever since the internal conflict started, just because Calum supported Horner doesn't automatically mean that everyone in the company was standing next to Christian. Quite the contrary. The Verstappen family and Helmut Marko constantly bid their quest to the Austrian side to get rid of Horner in whatever way possible. And now the pieces have fallen into place without them actually having to do anything in the gray zone. Of course, the Uvidhia family still holds 49% of the Red Bull shares. It's just the fact that they are no longer majority shareholders as we speak. This is something that Craig Slater from Sky TV went on to comment about. As the pundit said, "My understanding is that the Thai support has eventually gone away. Horner was no longer able to rely on Uvidhia, so he has been vulnerable. The Austrian side of the company has been looking to make a change. But then again, to be sacked in such a vigorous manner after being part of the team from day one, winning 6 constructors and 8 drivers' championships, is just not fitting for a team of Red Bull's caliber. Even if Horner was guilty of every accusation being made towards him, something that has been proven as a false allegation only, I think this isn't the right way to let him go." According to Bernie Ecclestone, the former FIA president, Horner must have done something terribly wrong to not see another day as team principal of Red Bull. And when talking about this to a greater extent, Bernie said, "It must have been something very serious in my opinion. I spoke to him the day before on Monday, and he didn't know." Well, he might have known, but he didn't tell me. It was a normal conversation. We were talking about Max. Nothing to do with this. Otherwise, he would have told me. All I know is the message the whole world has got, which is that he's been fired effective immediately. It's the effective immediately that I don't understand. Why would they ask him to leave with immediate effect? It's like he murdered somebody. Now that Max's future is hanging in the air, this is where Red Bull has drawn the red line. There is no more playing around, because if it weren't for the Dutchman, I don't even think Red Bull would have had what it takes to fight in the midfield. Be that as it may, Horner won't leave the team with empty pockets. Of course, it's not about the money for him, but it's a nice compensation that would put him in a good financial position in case he struggles to find another job as a team principal. Since he had more than 5 years left on his existing contract, Red Bull is obliged to pay him more than £50 million. And what this goes to show is that the company was ready to get rid of him no matter the cost. So, as Ecclestone said, it must be truly something extremely bad that he did, dating all the way back to the WhatsApp messages at the beginning of the 2024 season, that put Horner in this position. What does the future hold for Christian at this point in time? Well, there are a couple of teams that would be highly interested in bringing him on board and then making the most out of his expertise. Alpine is one of them, and with the Mercedes-backed engines from 2026 onwards, Horner could make a massive impact on the team's restructure. We've seen that the Enstone-based squad doesn't really have a clear direction as to what they should be doing with their own staff. And with the second seat being very questionable, Horner could help in solving this problem and see Alpine finally be in the midfield or maybe even more. Ferrari could take a gamble and head in a new direction as well. The situation with Fred Vasseur is becoming more and more questionable by the day. And although there are talks that he and Ferrari are working on continuing the collaboration for the future, Elkann and Vigna are not really happy with the direction that their team is moving. Part of that reason is the continuous promises that Vasseur makes regarding the potential of the car, but nothing is to be seen on the track. Therefore, Horner will be the best choice to make a bold move and see whether it pays off. With all this in mind, what do you think about the general reason as to why Horner got fired? And more importantly, do you think that he'll have a job from 2026 onwards as a team principal somewhere else? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that appears on your screen right now.